Okay. So, we understand that the lost 10 tribes are amongst Western peoples. The lost 10 tribes are amongst Western peoples. That is a good portion of the original Hebrews were descended from Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. And there were 12 tribes, and these 12 tribes separated from the kingdom of Judah, and they set up their own kingdom of Israel, in which they had 10 tribes, whereas the kingdom of Judah remained with the tribe of Judah and Benjamin together. After that, most of the Levites also joined them, and after that, representative minorities in the time of King Hezekiah, and afterwards also attached themselves to them, and they became the present-day Jewish people, the ancestors of the Jewish people, or the basic core of the nation. Whereas all the other tribes were exiled by the Assyrians, taken and moved around. They rebelled against the Assyrians, and they, through different pathways of migration, they eventually reached Western Europe. And they converged to specific areas, and there was a tendency for people from a specific tribe. They were always in groups. First of all, they moved in groups, even though they lost consciousness of their ancestry. Physically, they stayed together as collectivities, and they moved with groups, and they had been split up to some degree. But the different groups belonged to specific tribes, tended to congregate, tended to reconverge on each other, so that we can identify specific areas in Western Europe as belonging to one or other of the lost 10 tribes who were there. And from there, those areas they founded the USA, they founded Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and other areas. And so we have areas of Western Europe, also we have areas of English-speaking provinces, and they too were all of them to be associated with lost 10 tribes. And we have proofs of this. We have proofs of this from linguistics. We have proofs of this from history, from legends, from mythology, from numerous fields of study that all converge, all give the same answers. That all and one reinforces the other. But major proofs are biblical, and also we have proofs sub-biblical as supplemented by rabbinical commentators, but basically from the Bible, from the Hebrew Bible. And that is a source of most of our evidence. And within the Bible we have literally hundreds of different proofs, all of which are conclusive, all of which are strong. But especially our proofs, the proofs that are especially strong with us that we emphasize are those associated with the forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the promises given to them, which we find now fulfilled amongst Western peoples. And most of the promises that were given to the forefathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, were that they should be extremely numerous. They should be numerous on a worldwide scale. They should be amongst the most numerous peoples on earth. Not necessarily the most numerous, but amongst them, up there. Also, they should be wealthy. They should have minerals. They should also be powerful, possess the gates of their enemies, and also be materially blessed with natural resources, mineral resources, agricultural bounty, natural basic foundational starting points from nature. And this is what has happened. This is where we find these peoples have received these blessings. So this in itself is important. We take these three or four main principles together, we only find them to have been fulfilled in those groups of people whom we identify as the lost tribes of Israel. Another point is that they should bring a blessing to all the peoples of the earth. They should help other peoples, and these nations have done that, and are doing that today, and have done so in the past, and have been, on the whole, With exceptions, they've been a civilizing influence upon other nations, especially nations that were in need of a certain degree of civilization, of improvement, one could say. And they provided this, and anything that is good, and much of what is good in the world today, derives from them. So this in itself is a proof. So we're going to go through these points. We're going to go through these points. We're going to start with Abraham. Abraham is the first Hebrew. Abraham was a descendant of Shem, the son of Noah. First of all, you had Adam and Eve, and then you had people on the earth, different groups of people on the earth. And then they sinned, and so the whole earth was destroyed. All of humanity was destroyed by the deluge, apart from Noah and his three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Shem was considered the most favored son of the sons of Noah. And from Shem descended Terah, and Terah was the father of Abraham. Terah came from Ur of the Kasdim. This is often identified with an area in Mesopotamia, in southern Iraq or central Iraq, but the Talmud seems to indicate it was in a region in now southern Turkey. But there's also places named after Ur. It doesn't, as far as we're concerned, for our point of present, doesn't make much difference. Abraham was first named Abram. His wife Sarah had previously been named Sarai. So Abram and Sarai became Abraham and Sarah. God told Abraham to leave his country and go to the land that he would be shown. He would become a great nation, and all other nations would be blessed in him. It says in Genesis 12:2, and I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will glorify your name, aggrandize your name, make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. That is an important point of these blessings, of these prophecies. No, bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you, I will curse. And all the families of the earth shall be blessed in you. And all the families of the earth shall be blessed in you. Abraham was also promised that all the Holy Land, what in the future will become the Holy Land, will be given unto him. He would also be exceedingly numerous. Genesis 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17, it says, and the Lord said to Abram, remember Abraham was first called Abram, after Lot was his nephew, had started off on the journey with him, afterwards departed from him, went to the east of the Jordan River. And the Lord said to Abram after Lot had parted from him, please raise your eyes and see from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land that you see will I give to you, and to your seed, to your offspring for eternity. I will make your seed like the dust of the earth, so that if a man will be able to count the dust of the earth, so will your seed be counted. Therefore, that is an important point. The prophecy was the descendants of Abraham, those who had the promise, would be very, very numerous on a world scale. He says, rise, walk in the land to its length and its breadth, I will give it to you. After that, in Genesis 15, we find Abraham was told that his descendants, before anything could really develop, it would be a stage of 400 years in which his descendants would be slaves. It would be enslaved and oppressed for 400 years in a foreign land. Then Abraham made a pact with God and was made to pass through the divided bodies of animals that he had sacrificed. After that, we are told in Genesis 15:18, in that day the Lord formed a covenant, that is a pact, a brit with Abraham, saying, to your seed have I given this land from the river of Egypt, that is the Nile River, to the great river, the Euphrates River, the Canaanites, the Kenizzites, and the Cadmonites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Rephaim, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. All those are names of Canaanite peoples. Actually, Canaan was the son of Ham. Canaan had 12 sons, because in addition to them having the generic name Canaan, one of these 12 sons was also known as Canaan, so that sometimes causes confusion. So we have this, we have the 12 sons of Canaan, and one of them being named Canaan. Also we have Amorites, and sometimes the Canaanites are called Amorites, and in that case too, we have the 12 tribes of the Amorites, and one of them named Amorite, Amori. Whatever, so those are the 12, those are the tribes of Canaan, and they would be expelled. They would be expelled or exterminated according to the situation. And there were 12 of them, 10 of them would be given unto Abraham, and the other 2 apparently would remain. And out of these countries that are listed here, the Canaanites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Rephaim, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Girgashites, and the Jebusites, the first 3 are not found amongst the people of Canaan. Apparently they left and they went elsewhere, but their lands in the future would be given to the Israelites. And we have, the Talmud discusses this, and Midrashim also discuss this, and Talmud Gittin 5a discusses this. And they say that these 3 nations, the Canaanites, the Kenizzites, and the Cadmonites, who were not amongst the 7 nations of Canaan, they became, or they were given over to Moab, and Ammon, and Edom. And that in the end times they will belong to Israel. And then these names are changed, the different identifications are made. And according to one understanding of that himself, these different identifications represent different stages in which these peoples move from one area to another. And he says that in the end times, it refers to the areas of Western Europe and of the British Isles, and that they will belong to Israel. Hatim Sofer says that. Hatim Sofer, in his time, in the 1800s, was the greatest rabbi, or the second best, or the great, or the number 1 of his time, and until his time. Even now there are a large number of Jews, or religious Jews, who study his works. Study his works full time. And he also has descendants who are of importance. And so if he says something, it has a weight. It is respected, it is referred to, it is revered. And also when you read his works, sometimes on Shabbat or when I have time, I read his commentary on the Bible, and he is very deep. He has insights that are worth considering. He knows things. So if he says something, he had backing for it, and also he had, one could say, the Holy Spirit, the powers of intuition that are acquired through constant study and prayer and living a religious life. And all those who seek God will find him. God will guide them. So that is a point of interest concerning the Canaanites who would be dispossessed by the Israelites. And all their lands were promised to Abraham, and Abraham was to bring them over to Isaac, and Isaac to Jacob. And all of these areas included what we now know as the present-day state of Israel, including the region of Jordan, present-day Jordan, and of Syria, and reaching right up to the north along the length of the Euphrates River into central Turkey, according to the simple meaning. So all that region was promised to Abraham, also reaching up into the Nile River in the south, and according to most opinions encompassing all of Sinai, So after that, Abraham moved, and he moved with his wife Sarah. And Sarah at first was barren. She couldn't bring children. She thought it was considered that she was unable to bring children, and that she was naturally that way, and that there wasn't much chance, barring a miracle. And in the end, a miracle did happen. But barring a miracle, she couldn't have children. So as was the custom that day, she gave the handmaiden to Abraham. And Abraham took the handmaiden, was named Hagar. She was from Egypt. From here, Hagar begat Ishmael. And when Hagar saw that she was pregnant, whereas her mistress, that is Sarah, was not, so she started relating to Sarah with a disdain, not properly. So Sarah had her sent out, sent her away. She wandered around, and she entered the wilderness, and she was distressed. And an angel saved her, came down and spoke to her, told her, as we find in Genesis 16:9, and the angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress, let us go back to Sarah, and allow yourself to be afflicted under her hands, tolerate what she does to you, however she treats you. And the angel of the Lord said to her, and I'll greatly multiply your seed, and it will not be counted for abundance. You too will have a great number of people. And the angel of the Lord said to her, behold, you will conceive and bear a son, and you shall call him Ishmael. Ishmael means the God hears, for the Lord has heard your affliction. And he will be a wild donkey of a man. Brit-Am. It can be translated as a wild man, or it can also be translated as a wild donkey of a man. As the translation that I'm using does render it. His hand will be upon all, and everyone's hand upon him. He will be against everyone else, and everyone will be against him. And before all his brothers he will dwell. At the expense of all those around him, even his nearest of kin, will he dwell. So this describes to some degree the Arabs, or people of Arab culture, or those of Islamic culture. Muhammad, according to tradition, was descended from Ishmael, so he had this attitude, had these attributes, and he so wrote his books or found his religion that he instilled something with spirit in all those who had heard to him. And this is what was prophesied about him. It's prophesied about him about more than 3,000 years ago. And until this day, that is how he is. That is how he has been, and how he still is. That's what the Bible says. A wild donkey of a man, his hand be upon all, and everyone's hand upon him. Before all his brothers he will dwell.